Hi guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome back to Budget with Ira. And welcome back to part 2 of the A to Z of debt and budgeting. Now, I'm currently away on my holidays, but you did request this video because I only teased half of it. I'm very, very sorry. In this video, we're talking about the A to Z of budgeting. So the things that I think are important to make sure that you can budget and manage your debt really well. So I'm not a financial advisor and this is only my opinion, but I give you a little bit of insight, stuff that I've learned along the way. Might be helpful. If you are new to the channel, hi, my name's Ira. My DMs are open for millionaires with massive. But if you are new here, please consider subscribing. And if you haven't watched the first part of this video, I have linked it in the description. Take a look at that before you watch this one. I mean, it's not necessary, but it helps with my view time. So thanks, bestie. So anyway, I've teased you long enough. Here is the second part of the A to Z of debt and budgeting. N is for no spend. And by no spend, I mean a no spend day. Now, a lot of people do this a lot differently, and to an extent, doesn't really matter either. But having a system in place where you are celebrating where you don't actually spend any money on a certain day can be quite beneficial and can be quite important to your budgeting journey. I count a no spend day is when I've spent no money at anything at all, no sinking funds or anything like that, but also when I haven't paid for a bill as well, so when a bill wasn't due. So I'm never going to get a month where I have 31 no spend days because bills will naturally come out. But tracking when you don't spend anything and showing yourself that you can do it, you can go a day without spending money. And I know that sounds like a bit of a crazy thing to say, but I think if you asked me about a year ago, can I go a whole day without spending any money? I don't think I've been able to do that. But the fact that I can quite comfortably not spend a single penny in a day is something miraculous for me. So tracking something like that is wonderful and something that you should consider doing if you don't do already. O is for overpayments. If you only pay the minimum amount on your creditors, so the things that you owe and things that you're in debt for, if you only pay the minimum amount, yes, it will take a certain amount of time to pay it off. However, overpayments are the most powerful thing in your arsenal when it comes to paying down debt. Now, it doesn't matter if that overpayment is £5, £10, £1 million. Doesn't matter. Well, £1 million it probably would matter. But as long as you are committing a certain amount each month to that debt, it will cut down the time in which it takes to pay that off. So figuring out what your overpayment is, and that might look like the debt snowball, it might look like the debt avalanche, and I'm doing a video in the future talking to you all about those as well. But making sure that you have an overpayment in place that you can comfortably do each and every month or each and every week or however often you want to pay it will cut down the time in which you want to pay off debt. P is for prioritize. And when I say prioritize, what I mean is at the end of your budget, when you've got your income, you've taken your bills out, you've taken your sinking funds out, you've taken everything out that you need to, and if you are left with a little bit of money at the end of the month, thinking about what your priorities are to make sure that you give that money a job. Let's say, for instance, after you've paid for everything, you have £100 left in your account. Do you send that to buffer? Do you leave it for misc spending and fritter it away? Or do you actually give that money a job? A job for money could be adding in to a sinking fund, going into a savings pot, saving up for somebody's birthday in the future, chucking it towards Christmas. Making sure that you know what your priorities are will make those decisions very, very clear when you have that sort of money. My priority number one is saving up for a home. So if I ever have any extra money, it goes towards that. But when you understand what your priorities are, those decisions are second nature and they become very, very easy to make because you know what your priorities are and you know exactly where that money's going to go. Q is for quotes. And when I say quotes, I mean shopping around. There are some things in life that are inevitable. You might need to get something repaired. You might need to get car insurance. You might need to travel on holiday last minute and get some money in a different currency. But shopping around, looking at exchange rates, looking at quotes for prices can make a big difference. Also, is the service that you're getting good enough to qualify for that? Let's say, for instance, you're living in the UK and you have a TV subscription. Is Sky cheaper than Virgin? Is the internet they're able to offer you better? Weighing all of that down, looking at all of the quotes all together and deciding what the right thing for you is, rather than just going for the same thing all the time. Getting a quote gives you so much power because you're able to make a decision where your money goes. R is for rollover. And rollover is essentially the money that you have left at the end of the month, you roll that into the next month. The reason why it's included in this is because some people like it, some people don't, and you need to figure out what's right for you. A rollover can be very, very handy if your income or the amount of money that you're getting is in a state of flux. Let's say you are self-employed or your partner is self-employed. If they are off sick and they can't make any money, you might have to rely on a little bit of rollover just in case that happened. And if it didn't happen, you can roll it over to the next month and then the next month and then the next month. But also some people like to do zero-based budgeting, and I'll tell you about that towards the end of the video. But some people like to discourage a rollover because they want to make sure that every bit of money has a job within that month. Rollovers can be quite important and they can be quite powerful depending on what your budget needs are. So figuring that out for yourself and making sure that you made a decision about whether you have rollovers or you don't have rollovers can be quite important. Now, I would discourage you from having a rollover for having rollover's sake, because that's just free money, and if you're anything like me, you're just going to spend it on rubbish. S is for sinking funds, and I love a good sinking fund. Sinking funds essentially are little pots of money that you put away for events in your life, people in your life, or things that are important to you. So for me, my most important sinking fund to me is my water bill, because my water bill comes around every 6 months. And if I could tell you how many times that bill has hit me by surprise and I've not known how to pay for it, I've defaulted and I've made like tons of mistakes on it. Ever since I started my debt freedom journey, I set aside £25 every single month to go into a little pot for water bill. And now I look forward to the water bill because ideally it's a little bit less than what I've saved up for. And then I've got like a tenner at the end of it to treat myself with as a treat for saving up all of this money and not spending it for however long, every 6 months that I've got it. So sinking funds are really, really valuable. I definitely recommend considering sinking funds, and sinking funds don't always have to be a cash envelope with cash in it. It can be digital on a Monzo pot as well. T is for tracking, and for me that looks like tracking expenses. I know that if I don't track my expenses and what's coming out of my account, then I feel so out of control, because in reality, I've lost control. When you're writing down all of the things that you're spending or saving or whatever it is very cathartic, and it makes you be really, really focused and dialed in on what you're actually doing. Let's say, for instance, that I've got a problem with spending on my card. I can go around all day going contentless, bloop, 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 with my card all day long and feel very, very comfortable doing that. I can go to sleep absolutely comfortable because I'll never think about that again. But if I go and I write down everything that I've spent and then I tally that up, it's going to give me the reality of what I'm actually doing with my finances. So making sure that I have a process in place where I'm doing that daily, weekly, monthly, whatever's right for you, makes you really, really understand what you're actually doing and where your money's going. Because what you don't want to do is be that person that at the end of the month says, I don't actually know where my money went. I should have had an extra £1,000. Don't know where that's gone. Even if you still have those bad habits and you're tracking it, at least you can show yourself, okay, well, I spent £500 on McDonald's this month. That's where it went. I mean, I'm talking about my personal experience, not yours. U is for unsubscribe. Now, don't unsubscribe from my channel. That would be devastating. But really considering, what are you paying money for? So when I started my debt-free journey, I subscribed to a lot of podcasts that I didn't really listen to, and ones that I paid for as well. I had Patreons for people that I got bored of and stopped following as well. I'd also have more Apple storage than I actually needed for the cloud as well, and really looking at what am I getting value from, what is the benefit from me, and do I actually need this? And when I really weighed those 2 things up, or 3 things, or whatever, however many things I just said, actually I found that I didn't need all of that. So I hit that unsubscribe button. I stopped paying for a lot of subscriptions. I stopped paying for Disney Plus because I never watched it. And then I also saw the value in things that I did like. So things like Netflix, I use every single day, and I really value that. So it's become a very, very important thing to me in terms of my budget. So I make sure that I try to keep that at all costs every single month. But unsubscribing from things and getting rid of the dead weight in your budget is absolutely valuable. Having a really good look around on your standing orders and things like that is really, really important. And also looking at your things that are annualized as well. So things like potentially you might have Amazon Prime that you get charged once a year for. Making sure that you cancel that in time to make sure that you don't get caught out and get stuck with it for another year if it's not something that you use all the time. So make sure you hit that unsubscribe button, but not for this channel. V is for vehicle. Vehicles are expensive. Not only are they expensive to run, but also the upkeep and the maintenance of a car or a bike or a tractor or a boat, whatever you got, can be ludicrous, and it can really, really creep up on you. And the reason why I'm including this in the A to Z is because there isn't much you can do for V, but also making sure that you have some sort of sinking fund to support you with any future bills that might come up will be really, really helpful. Because yes, insurance costs money, saving up for that, but also just the maintenance of a car, taking it to get its registration or its MOT or a car service, or just to get it tinkered with, or an oil change. No matter what you need to get done, it's always more than what you think it's going to be. I would always recommend having a sinking fund for car maintenance with enough money in it to replace all 4 tyres if that's what you needed, because that is likely to be one of the most expensive bills that you can get. If you've got enough to pay for all 4 tyres but you only need to replace 1 tyre, great, fantastic. If the worst happened, you needed to replace all 4 tyres, and I know that's not the worst thing that could happen, but let's be reasonable here. If you can afford all 4 tyres, you're probably okay. So V for vehicle, very, very important, car maintenance fund. W is for wallet. By wallet, what I mean is how you organize your money. Now, there's lots of different ways to do this. A lot of people are in debt because they have a not amazing relationship with money, or it's getting there. So for some people, cash envelopes work really, really well because they're exactly the right amount of money, exactly where it needs to be, and they spend it accordingly. And they don't take their cards out with them because then they've got a bit too much temptation for them. But some people really don't get on with cash envelopes, and some people prefer to have it digital. Some people just work better digitally, and it's okay whichever way is right for you. But for me, I prefer using cash envelopes as my wallet because yes, it is difficult to spend it, but that's a good thing for me. I can't be trusted with a card going bloop, bloop, bloop everywhere. I just can't be. There's no shame in what works for you. Whatever's right for you and whatever will work for you is correct. Do you know what I mean? So whether you're a digital spender or a cash spender, don't worry about it. Just figure out what's right for you. And I'd recommend trying both until you find out what's right. X is for Christmas. Christmas rolls around the same day every year, but I swear every single year it has caught me out. Having a fund in place to make sure that you can afford everything that you want to do is really, really vital. But also really realizing how much Christmas costs for you and your family, because Christmas isn't always just about the presents. You have to spend much more on groceries, have a big blowout dinner, there's ornaments, there's all sorts of things. You might want to go to like a Christmas craft village. You might want to go and do different things. You might want to go and take the kids to see Santa. All of those things cost a lot of money, and that time of year is incredibly expensive. So not only saving up for presents, but also all of the other bits that come along with it as well is absolutely vital. Now don't worry, if you're starting to save up now in July, you've got 6 months. You can just double or scale back your plans a little bit, because you don't have to do all of that. If we go back to the point where I said that kids don't always remember, they might remember seeing Father Christmas, but they won't remember what you ate. So making sure that you are having an appropriate Christmas for yourself and it's within budget through saving up for it in a timely manner can be very, very important and give you a lot of power over your budget. Y is for you decide. And it's a shame that this isn't the last letter in the alphabet, because it's a nice place to end this on, but we do have an extra one. But you decide is probably the most important letter of this alphabet. Any type of journey, no matter whether it's a debt-free journey, a savings journey, a journey to the supermarket, it is a personal one. And there is no right or wrong way to do it, as long as the conclusion is met at the end. So you might be a digital stuffer. You might do it by cash. You might want to write everything down. You might use an iPad. You might need assistance from a charity. You might need help from a family. You might be doing this with a partner, you might be doing this alone, you might have kids. Everything, there are so many factors that will change the course of your journey. But you figuring out what the right way for you is very, very important. There's so many people on YouTube showing their debt-free journey about how they paid off thousands of pounds in a really, really short amount of time. That is absolutely fantastic. They might have had an easier journey than you or I. I might even have had an easier journey than you. Figuring out what is the right way for you to get it done is really, really important. But if you do it the same way as someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the right conclusion, because that's tailored for them, bestie, it's not for you. So I'd recommend trying lots of different methods, and when something feels right, stick with it. And Z, or Z if you're American, but let's just face it, it's Z. And a zero-based budget is essentially what it sounds like. At the end, after you've got your income, you've taken your bills out, you've taken your cash out, you've taken your sinking funds, you've taken your debt out, and you've taken your savings out, what you're left with should be, in a zero-based budget, zero. And what that shows you is that every single penny in your budget has a job. The odds and sods might go into rollover, the odds and sods might go into buffer, but making sure that every single penny in your budget has a job can be important for some people. Now, some people like to have a little bit left over and they don't want to have a zero-based budget, but a zero-based budget can be really, really powerful because you feel like you're in control of your money. Because essentially what you're doing with a zero-based budget is saying you are going to be spent on this, you are going to be spent on that, and you're the director of what happens with your money. So I tend to have a zero-based budget. So what I do is I budget everything out right up to the line, and then what I'm left with I use to just go into my buffer, and it's only ever a couple of quid, but I use that because I assign that sort of £2 or £3, whatever is left over at the end of the budget, to go towards just having a little bit of beef in my account in case something goes wrong. And it's really, really small, but it's helpful. Hi guys, girls and non-binary pals, thank you so much for getting through to the end of the video. You know I love it when you get through to the end of the video. Please give this video some love. Make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe, and if you are going to comment, please use this emoji. And that is all I have for you this week. I don't know if I've got any new patrons or not because I'm currently on my holiday, so it'll be nice to come back to lots of new ones. So if you are not a patron, please take a look at the link in the description because you will not regret it, bestie. Thank you so much to everybody who is supporting me over on Patreon because it literally means the world. I don't think I'd be able to go on holiday without you. Thank you so much. Anyway, we are at the end of the video, so have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, have a wonderful budget. Always remember, don't trust Ira. And I will see you again very, very soon. I hope I'm not a sunburnt by the time you see me next. See you again really, really soon, bestie. Bye-bye.